Hey everybody, how's it going? Well, I thought I'd come up here again to Cable and just walk around some of the mess of these cars that are here and get a little closer up view of what all this looks like. At least the railroad part of it is all cleaned up and fixed and looking good. Look around a couple of these cars. It is Tuesday, February 1st. Hopefully I'll still be able to catch them cleaning these cars out and getting them out of here. You saw the piece I did last time about them purging these tanks. That's what they were doing, these tank cars. So let's look around, see what's going on. All right, well, we'll start right here. We are at the east end of the derailment site. See the auto rack there laying on its side, and pretty little creek. I don't know what that creek's called. We'll call it Golden Hills Creek. But it feeds under that culvert there down into Tehachapi Creek. The old water line there, I don't believe that water line is in service anymore. I know it got ripped out down at the tunnels. It used to feed the tanks at Keene. That is no longer the case. Scrap. So these cars will not be salvaged. I would imagine that sometimes if they're not too badly damaged, they'll put them back to use. You can see, and someone brought this to my attention in the comments, thank you, I don't remember who it was. They'll purge the cars, pump them, clean them out with water, and then cut these holes in them. I don't know if that's one of the train riders or what. I refuse to call them hobos. These people who think they're hobos today, they're not really hobos. They're just adventure seekers with laptops, cell phones, YouTube pages, Instagrams. There ain't much hobo-ish about that. So they will be junking these cars. I don't know if they'll scrap them here on site. The auto racks at the last two derailments, the one at Marcel and the one at Bealville, those cars were scrapped on site and hauled off by the scrappers themselves. I am not in the control point. That is down there. I don't know what's going on up there. Climb up on the hill there, my truck up there, get back up there and see what these guys are doing. Anyway, I will be using ITD, individual train detection, to protect myself. When I'm fouling the tracks here, you can see for those of you who don't know, this is a railhead bond. This is where two pieces of rail come together. These are all the panels that they installed following the derailment. Eventually, these will all either be welded out or the entire lengths of rail changed between here and the I-bonds and between the other end of the I-bonds and the other end of the derailment site. But anyway, signal circuits use the rail, and railhead bonds are for conductivity between ends of the rails around the joints. Generally, the joints are good enough for conductivity, but you can't count on that. And you can see that all of these panels at the joints have railhead bonds on them. Pile of wheels. Some of the rail that was damaged in the derailment. See how the base of it's broken off there, and it's broken in half there at the ends. I remember when I went down to check out the cars up close at the Bealville derailment. If you'll recall, I was just getting over being sick, and it really got me tired. But here are the trucks that the wheels would go there, cars would sit on top of them, and the cars are not bolted down to these trucks. They just sit on them. Those pin in that hole up there, and they come apart pretty easily. The auto racks, and as I mentioned in the other videos, these auto racks were empty, as technically, I'm told, were the LPG cars, but they still needed to be vented. I don't know a lot about that, but some of my viewers did and responded in the comments about venting those cars and how and why it's done. I always appreciate that extra information. New signals. These were both wiped out in the derailment. And you saw when I was doing the piece about the I-bonds, the insulated joints, which I have a piece coming up that is specifically about insulated joints. Those are the I-bonds up close. You can see there where they were welded in place, at least on this end. The other end are still just have railhead bonds. All right, you can see over there, M23 union switch and signal, dual control power switch machine. All right, well, we've walked up here to the other end of the crossover, and there is the dragon equipment detector on number 2 track. They had to replace that. And the power switch machine, I did a piece on how power switch machines work. I'll link that in the description below for those of you who will watch it and those of you who have seen it. Yes, I know, I did that down at the other end of cable. Down there were double track ends, and that location was in really bad shape at the time, but rest assured that about a month after I did that video, they went in and we changed out all the ties and got everything all cleaned up, and it looked a lot better. All the rods were replaced. But that video was how a switch machine works, not how a switch location ought to look. Up there saw Mr. Matt Smith, signal technician. Hadn't seen him since before I retired. Said howdy to him. All right, walked over here. This is the last car that was on the ground here at the north end of the site. And this is obviously an auto rack. It's darn near upside down. I had a few people ask about the signals here at cable, specifically the signals down at the other end. And we'll look at those when I walk back out of here. But they asked, why does this signal, those signals have 2 heads and this signal have 1? And for these signals here, going this way, east or south if you prefer, the reason that signal over there has 2 heads is because it is an approach signal. There are no intermediates between cable and Tehachapi, so that is an approach signal for the Tehachapi crossover. This one has 2 heads because, as I've said before, if you want to go back and look at how signals work, the videos I did about that in the how things work in the signal department, or how the signal system works, I think is the name of the playlist. But anyway, the top head here controls movement up the main line. The bottom head controls movement through the crossover. So if you're going to go through the crossover, you would have a red over yellow or red over flashing red or whatever aspect is designed to be shown here. And as an approach aspect over there, you would have a yellow over yellow. And if you weren't going to be going through the crossover Tehachapi, you would just have red, green, or yellow on the top head, depending on the aspect that that is designed to show in a given situation. Hoses here at the polarity joints, and I will have a video coming up where I go over insulated joints and why they're where they are, and etc., etc., etc. And that will be coming up probably at around the 1st of March. But anyway, these are the wires for the track circuits in the turnout here, or in the crossover, I should say, these crossover circuits. And I guess they are turnout circuits, whatever you want to call them. But this part of the fouling circuit in the turnout. And the track wires, the bond strand, which is the type of wire that is used for track connections. It will go underground, be connected to conductor number 6 that is buried underground, shielded armored cable that goes over to the house. And the reason they paint these green is so track equipment that may be working in the area can see these and not destroy them. And eventually they'll stay on the top of the ground there between the ties and between the rails, but out here they will bury these at some point. They don't like leaving them like this because they create a tripping hazard. And that's another reason that they're painted fluorescent green, so that they're visible. Even at night, that fluorescent green stands out. Sometimes they paint them orange, but generally they paint them green. Okay, these are the signals that people ask why there's one head on that signal and 2 on this. That signal only controls movement down the number 2 track. And you'll get, again, a red, yellow, or green, or flashing yellow, or whatever it is designed to show in a given situation. This controls movement through the crossover, so it is a diverging signal, or can be. And if you're going straight down the number 1 track here, you could have a yellow over yellow, which means you're going to go through the turnout, back out onto the main line, single track main at cable, because this number 1 track is the one that has the actual turnout down at the end of double track, and it has a position signal down at the end, and this would be the yellow on the approach to the position signal at the top, on the top signal at cable, and then your route signal on the bottom head. I hope that makes sense. But anyway, that's why this signal has 2 heads and that only has 1. We just around the curve from the cable crossover, and those signals just lit. Both red, that means they have cleared a train eastbound up the hill through the crossover. This crane, which is a pretty good sized crane, is here to build the big crane. The big crane is the red one there. And once that crane is completed, they will move it down there and start cleaning those cars out of here. I don't know when that's going to happen. Probably not today. They will probably spend the rest of the day putting that crane together. Hopefully I can get up here and catch a little bit of that crane getting those cars out of this area. All right, well, a little look around cable. That work is still proceeding to get this all cleaned up. I hope to get back and catch them actually using the cranes to move these cars out. I will stop by Thursday morning. I'm coming this way on the first leg of my vacation. I'll stop by and see what's going on, see if maybe we can catch some of that. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Keep shooting me the ideas. Drop in the comments below. Shoot me an email at motorpoet59@gmail.com. Like, share, subscribe. Click on the bell if you want to be notified of future content. And we'll see you all later.